pull up on you, then I might swear, ayy. Double off deuce, ayy. That just might work, ayy. When I pull up on you, then I might swear, ayy. Double off deuce, ayy. That just might work, ayy. That just might work.
Welcome back to another episode of the Michel Matters podcast. I'm Jacques Michel.
And I'm Jackie Michelle.
Welcome back.
Hey, guys.
Episode 95.
Yes.
Another step closer to 100.
Almost there.
Yeah. Feeling good. How you feeling?
Feeling good. We hung out with the parents today. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's cool hanging out with them.
It's gradually gotten better over time. Yeah, I'm glad we are where we are now.
Yeah.
But it was a process to get here. But yeah, it was cool.
I guess I don't remember the process, but
I don't need a rehash. We could probably do another in-laws like update episode later.
Yeah.
And maybe we can go through some of that. But
sure.
Today was cool. Heading into Thanksgiving week.
Yes.
So definitely looking forward to that and just, hanging out with the fam, getting everybody together.
Yeah.
And yeah, leading into your birthday. But we'll deal with that when we get there. We'll deal with that when we get there. But yeah, so just to kind of get into it, I feel like this is like the consistent theme. You got to lead us into what goes on in your mind when you come up with some of these podcast topics.
Yeah. So we had an episode called Let Your Soul Glow. And in that episode, we started talking about, or you started asking me questions about like not working at a traditional job anymore and what it's like working for myself now. And so I think because of that kind of spark in the conversation and the high rate of people leaving their jobs now, the next couple of episodes, I kind of wanted to reflect what some of those problems are that people face within their jobs, why they leave, how we make these leaps to leave and start other things. And then we'll be interviewing a couple of other like entrepreneurs, or not even just entrepreneurs, but people taking work into their own hands and how different that looks to all of them. So I'm really excited. And so to start that off, I read this article called The Great Resignation is Really the Great Discontent. And I thought that was an interesting title.
Yeah.
And so you ended up reading it and you had some takeaways as well. So I was like, let's start off with that. Because I think that will help lead us into like what makes work not the best place for some of us sometimes.
Yeah. Ooh.
What?
No, I'm trying to get back to my page on here.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, as I found my notes, this, I don't know, is this like centered around me since I'm the only, between the two of us that works like a traditional job? Is this kind of...
No, because I still have my experience.
Yeah.
And I still, I'm kind of tuned into what goes on in workplaces because I freelance from time to time.
Yeah.
And then I just see like how unorganized some people could be, or like just the different personalities in the workspace. So I think we will both have things to contribute to the conversation.
Yeah. So the first thing that like stood out to me, reading the article was, okay, so they have this one paragraph where it says people are calling it the Great Resignation. And they're saying that it's not, and according to the data, because I'm kind of paraphrasing as I go, it's not an industry, role, or pay issue. It's a workplace issue. They're saying the highest quit rate is among not engaged and actively disengaged workers.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that part later. But my thing was they're calling it a workplace issue more than like a pay and industry issue. And that could be true. But I feel like a lot of the workplace attitude is based around like, I think for a lot of people, how much you get paid may affect how you feel about your job.
Yeah.
In ways where like certain things bother you more when you feel underpaid versus like if you're, content with your salary or, in some rare cases, I guess, overpaid, for what you do.
Interesting.
But
they're saying, well, I guess you mentioned that it's more so of a workplace issue, not a pay issue.
Yeah.
That people are leaving?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're, okay. I guess I was trying to understand like that point you just made to like the workplace. Because I'm thinking, especially now, because it's happening right now, where they're, I guess, getting their data from.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, there is no workplace right now.
A lot of people? I wouldn't say a lot of people.
What you mean?
A lot of people are going back to work.
Yeah, now.
Yeah.
But when they took all of this
data,
yeah, it was kind of like, are we, like, what is the workplace? Because I'm home, you're home.
Yeah.
We're like,
I'm not sure exactly when they pulled some of this information.
Yeah.
I'm going to kind of go through and see. But
I think it was starting in 2019.
Okay, so if it was in 2019, then a lot of these people were in their like workplace or whatever.
That's true.
But yeah, it's okay. So yeah, so it looks like they pulled it from 2019. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're doing this on the fly, but yeah. So for me, I think when you talk about workplace issues, the things that come to mind are like, at least for me, when I think about workplace issues, like, my relationship with like my managers and how they deal with certain issues. Yeah. And, just workplace environment. Like, is it kind of uptight or, is it a team oriented workspace or is it a lot of like just different individuals,
doing whatever they
doing like what they do.
Yeah.
But to me, money is a major issue. And to act, I don't want to say they're acting like it doesn't matter, but
yeah,
I think a lot of the quote unquote workplace issues you could probably trace it back to some level of discontentment with what people are getting paid.
Interesting. I agree with some of that, but I also feel like, and I get it, right? Because when you look for a job, you're mainly looking to pay your bills, right? Mm-hmm. But in some corporate spaces, you kind of have leverage with what you can make and how you, I don't know, like how you bring forth whatever salary you're trying to get. So to say that like it starts with what they're making, a part of you, I mean, you accepted that pay, right?
Yeah.
It depends on where you are, like what space you're in, but you're never tied to anything except for like, I gotta pay my bills. You know what I'm saying?
So you think that
I'm not saying money is not an issue.
No. But you're saying that you think employees have leverage? Because you got to use your 2019 brain, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Do I think majority of employees felt like they had leverage in negotiations with their employers? I don't think that was necessarily like the thought process.
That's true.
At the time. Yeah,
because I feel like at 2019 was the point where I left the workplace. Mm-hmm. And a part of it was that it was like, well, I'm not going anywhere here.
Yeah.
Growth track or money track,
Yeah.
So let me just go or whatever.
Yeah.
It wasn't that easy, but yes, like it was kind of like this is the dead end for me. So yeah, money did play a role, but I think I was already starting to get into that disengagement feeling.
Yeah.
So it was just not going to work out for both parties. and I don't know if you want to go into the disengagement, but I agree that money is a major issue. But I think there are other pieces to the workplace that just enhance that issue.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I just wanted, I don't want to like confuse it as the only issue, but it is the major issue.
Yeah.
To me, because a lot of what people want now, it feels like out of work, is to be like more properly compensated, but also more autonomy. That's kind of why I feel like the gig economy is really taking off now, where people would prefer to be independent contractors versus W-2 employees. Yeah. Because, and this is something I guess that you've kind of learned, like as the independent contractor, you do have more leverage in a lot of those situations, because you tend to be filling a need that they don't want to like staff in-house or whatever. Or they can't, not at the rate that they would like to.
Yeah, I think in my case, it's that you don't really find a lot of people in my position. And so they're kind of like, okay, you're like the only one here. Yeah. So we'll take what we can get, kind of thing.
But you see what happens with, okay, when you're a salaried employee and you're in that position, you're still kind of under their control. But when you pull yourself back, you become not the independent contractor, knowing your situation.
Yeah.
Oh, now I got some leverage. Like, could I have used it as an employee? Maybe, but not to the level of like, I'm coming to you as not somebody who works for you, but as someone that you need to hire.
Right.
Because one of the things they talked about in the article was how expensive it was to replace people, right? Mm-hmm. And it's expensive because to get good people, you typically have to pay more money to get good people to leave where they're at, because most good people aren't unemployed. Right. That's typically how that goes.
Yeah.
So now, as an independent contractor, to get me to work for you, you're going to have to come up. You're going to have to come up out of pocket.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is why most people get their raises when they threaten to quit.
Right.
Because there is like that, okay, before this becomes a more expensive problem, like, let's try to fix it right now.
Yeah. But I will say there are certain things that I'm not going to say they cannot be fixed, but I've seen time and time again that they don't get fixed. And that's whether I'm an employee or a contractor.
You mean like some of the internal, like organizational problems that they have? Yes.
So like, for example, I have never been trained for a job. Ever. I just get there. Sometimes I have a desk. Sometimes I don't. Like, my workspace just kind of evolves as I'm there. Yeah. And I'm, make a place for myself, or they make room for me. I remember I started working at a company, and I don't know if they didn't remember that I was starting that day or something. But I guess they did, because they had like, my email and my password and all that printed out. But I didn't have a chair. I didn't have, like, it was a mess.
Yeah.
And that was one of my highest paying positions. Like, it was weird. I was like, what is happening? Like, who is HR?
Yeah.
It's certain things, but it was also like, a small company. So I guess whatever. But, to bring it current day, I remember working at a company, and there was never really a clear plan on, okay, how are we going to get this collection together? Type thing. And then once I transitioned into a contractor for them, that hasn't changed. So instead of, I'm getting paid the same amount every week and enduring the lack of clarity and organization, as a contractor, I'm like, okay, y'all don't have what y'all need to give me, but you're still getting billed for this because you're wasting my time.
Yeah.
So in that case, it's like, okay, at least I'm still getting paid for it, but it's like, when are we gonna fix this issue? Like, what's happening? Yeah.
One of the points that they made in the article was that a lot of what causes workers to be engaged, I guess, or disengaged is like leadership and management. And I feel like that would help a lot of the issues. Mm-hmm. But for some of these places and companies, they don't either have like the right structure to make some things work. So like I've worked at places where I don't know who my direct manager or supervisor is. Like I wouldn't know who to complain to, right?
What?
Okay.
That's nuts.
Yeah. Like I wouldn't know exactly who to complain to. And it's like, do I just take this straight to like the owner? Or things like I'll start at a company and I'm a year in, 2 years in, and I'm still trying to figure out like what exactly is my role here? Yeah. What do I do? Like I had a job where at some point I was just fed up because I felt like I was disappointing the owner. Like you could just feel like you walking through in the little kitchen and I just feel the tension in the room. I'm like, what did I do? Like, why is this man like so tense around me? And they got to the point where I'm like, is there something I'm not meeting? Like, can you tell me? Cause there'll be times where people ask me questions or they'll say some things and in my mind, I'm like, that's not my job. Yeah. But I may not be living up to someone's expectation. Correct. But it's because clear expectations were never set. Yeah. Right? So it's like, and those are the things where you talk about, okay, why haven't I gotten a raise? And that person may think I'm not meeting certain benchmarks. But I don't know what benchmarks. Like I had a job where I was told I would have, once you're hired, you have your 3-month evaluation. And then, because, they always do that thing like, all right, we'll start you off that first 90 days. We'll see how it goes. And, we'll, whatever, like, say we negotiated a slightly lower starting rate and it's based on, okay, we'll see how the first 90 days goes. Right. And so I had a job where I did my first 90 days, no, like, evaluation. I did a whole year. Oh. And there was no evaluation.
You didn't email them after the 90 days?
Because this was, I don't want to give away, but like, it was early in my career, right? So it was early in my career. I didn't know, like,
you didn't know
I didn't process it. I didn't know how much of a difference the evaluation made. Mm-hmm. I just knew you were kind of supposed to have it. The only reason why it ever even happened was because there was somebody who started after me and he was telling me how he had just did his 90-day evaluation. Interesting. And he got a raise. But that was because his direct manager supervisor was like on it and she wanted to see him get his bump. So she did the whole thing. And I'm just like, wait, what? Like I've been here way longer than dude. Yeah. And it was like, okay, it caused a whole whatever situation where I had to like ask. And it's like, it should never get to a point where your employee has to ask for you to do his evaluation. You know what I mean? Amen. But it was just stuff like that where it's like organization. Wow. Why was that a struggle? I don't know. Like there are things that companies could do to like, make things run a little smoother. Yeah. One of the other like sentences that popped out was that some well-paid people are amongst the most disengaged at work. Yeah. And then I wrote rhetorically, why is that? The thing is with money, it don't, like you said, it don't fix all the problems, right? And it's easy to check out, like, when you feel like when you're not at a point where you feel like you have to work harder to get a raise, you may just coast and be like, yeah, I mean, why stress myself out? Yeah.
It's kind of like a rapper's first album. We talk about this all the time. Like, maybe the first 2 even albums are like, oh, this is good. Yeah. By the 3rd album, it's like they don't have to grind no more. Not as hungry. Good. Like, not as hungry. Yeah, they got the high rise now. Everybody's paid. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the same thing. Which is also why you see some people in higher positions, and it's like, sis, what do you do? Because, like, you don't even know how to use Excel, or you don't like. No, seriously. But it's just, you have the title, and you have the money, so it's like, why even work to learn these new programs or try to make change here? Because I'm almost done anyway.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm getting paid. So it's interesting too. So aside from the stats, I feel like we've obviously worked with people who were very much disengaged workers. Maybe we were them as well, like ourselves. But I think it goes back to, like, most people look for work to pay their bills. Like, not everybody looks for work because they want to be fulfilled or engaged at work. They just need to pay their mortgage.
Yeah.
So how, I mean, I think that's like a whole nother issue, because it's like, how do people know what they need to be doing? Right? Or like, what's their purpose? Where their giftings are?
Yeah.
How would you advise somebody to look for work? Engaging work. What does that even look like? I don't feel like that's what we talk about.
I'll be honest. I don't think engaging work is always like the key factor. Because if you are trying to get by, like,
I mean, if that's why most people are leaving their jobs, then it is a key factor. Because they're not engaged?
Okay. I don't know.
According to this article.
Yeah. I don't know if that is the key factor in people leaving their jobs, though. Like I said, once again, I still fall back on money is the major issue and why people leave their jobs, for the most part. I do think some people do seek a level of happiness, whatever, freedom.
Yeah.
But I think those people tend to, I don't want to say fall out of the workplace, but I feel like you kind of fall in that category where it's not that I don't want to keep working. I just don't want to be a part of the rat race where I'm necessarily like going job to job to job. I felt like you kept running into the same problems that you figured you could solve some of those problems, and you could only solve them for yourself.
Yeah.
So those people, I think, tend to fall into like independent contractors or whatever, like maybe even just find something else. I don't want to say change fields, but
different path.
Yeah, just a completely different path. But money to me still is the one, because when you talk about work, legitimately, most people are working not to be happy. They're working to live, right? One of the big changes, I don't want to say changes, but the movement you see now are people who are just not taking some of these low paying jobs. Cause it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
It's not worth the headache.
The time.
Yeah, it's not worth the hassle to be underpaid while you see these companies making bajillions off your back.
Yeah.
And whatnot. And it happens even on the smaller scale. Like I saw an article recently, and the headline was a Florida restaurant chain says boosting pay and offering better benefits helped it end its labor shortage. You don't say. Right? Like if you were to increase the quality of the environment for your work, your employees, they may want to come to work.
Stay.
You know what I mean? Like that can help engage you.
Right.
Like knowing that while you're in the back of your mind, you're not also trying to budget like, okay, I need to drive another 6 extra hours of Uber this week to make my bills work.
Yes, I agree. Like what you're saying is right. Money, I think, is a primary issue. I want to say, at least if you've been with whatever company or whatever for a while and you don't see any change to that money, that is when things become an issue.
Sure.
Because if you accept the job at whatever rate it is, that was your choice.
How many people have time to go through a whole, because imagine, right?
But
you go through an interview process where they put you through 2-3 interviews, or whatever, even if it's a smaller scale job, like you're going to work at like a Target or a Walmart. Can I afford to turn down a job when I don't got a job? Like some people, I accepted it not because I want to accept it. I don't have a choice. That's the majority of the workforce.
I get you.
That's what they're going through.
I hear you. But what I'm saying is, like, okay, so what I've seen and experienced too, you start off with a certain number. Mm-hmm. And you're like, that's decent. Mm-hmm. Or I can accept that for the time being. And then, like you said, 3 months come around, that 90-day evaluation doesn't happen. That year evaluation doesn't happen. And then it's like, okay, so we're not going to talk about what I'm going to make next year?
I think...
Like, there's no growth track here? Because that was last year's pay. And this is what I've done all this time. You know what I'm saying? For the engaged worker or for whoever actually did the task that was,
yeah,
meant to be done.
What percentage of people do you think actually negotiate their salary?
It's low. I know that.
And I think you're basing your opinion off a minority of people.
Yeah.
The majority of people in America don't go to Walmart and be like, they offer me 14, like, I don't think I could do it for less than 15. Like,
I guess because I'm thinking about like a corporate space.
Yeah. So in a corporate space, yes, typically those are a little different.
Yeah.
And even then,
because I'm not gonna lie, I mean, I've seen some engaged workers at like Publix and stuff like that. They're typically younger. Mm-hmm. But what do you want me to be engaged in at Walmart? If I'm stocking shelves, like I'm stocking shelves, that's my job.
All right.
What's the engagement?
Do you think, because this is always the example, do you think Chick-fil-A workers are engaged?
Child, there's a new Chick-fil-A now that they always get it wrong. So it depends on the location.
Minus that one Chick-fil-A that you've had a bad experience at.
Couple bad experiences.
Do you think Chick-fil-A workers are engaged?
For the most part. Yeah.
Do you think it's an anomaly?
I mean, I think it's a front, but yeah.
So for me, Chick-fil-A is the example because I think it is possible to get like, the customer service type, roles to also be in engaging roles.
Yeah.
But I think Chick-fil-A also tends to create a better environment for its workers. They pay more. They look like they clearly do better training.
But they also provide opportunities to learn other things.
But that's what I'm saying.
But that's exactly what this article is saying too.
No, but I'm saying they purposely do it. So
yeah,
is it like a what is there to be engaged about? Is that the question, or why aren't they engaging me? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Like, I don't think it's the fault of I don't think the job is necessarily not able to be engaging. I just think these companies do anything to make them to be in roles because somebody got to do it.
It's a both and.
Somebody's got to do it. And this idea that, you have to be so fulfilled in your work. And,
no. You don't have to be fulfilled. You don't have to be, but you do have to be engaged with what you're doing.
Sure.
In order to do it. Like, how are you going to do your work if you're not engaged in the work?
Yeah.
And so that is
Okay.
Yeah. So in the article, they talked about like 12 elements of engagement as well. I'm not going to list all of the 12 elements. I don't even know if they did, but it ranged from like knowing what's expected of you to growth tracks and other opportunities too.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're discussing here. How can I do a job that I don't know what you're expecting? AKA the jobs that I've received, that I've had where I've received no training at all.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, all right, well, I guess I'll just turn this into whatever I want it to be. Yeah. And I guess you'll tell me if I'm doing something wrong, which will be every freaking day. Yeah. And then growth tracks. There's no dialogue with how am I doing? What do you need? Hey, I have an idea. Will this help whatever we're trying to do? Like there's nothing. And you mentioned Chick-fil-A. I know that like Chick-fil-A has, or I don't know if all of them do, but I've heard that they'll have like book clubs or something, or where it's almost like not a
management training type.
Yeah. And they'll have like a book that they're reading, and then they'll engage with each other on it, but it's outside work that you have to do. Yeah. Outside of work hours, you have to read the book. You have to choose to be engaged and like get something from it, which could lead to other opportunities. And I appreciate that. Not every job has that. No. Most jobs is like, okay, you you leaving now? Cool. I'll see you next week.
Yeah. And that's why a lot of these big companies are like really hurting right now, because they have misused. I feel like they treat a lot of their workers like pawns that are so disposable, and they don't really invest into their employees. Yeah. Because
they don't see the need.
Yeah, they keep coming back. One of the things, and this wasn't a part of like the article or anything, but it's something I saw. In a majority of the states, like the biggest or the largest employers by number are Walmart and Amazon. Those two companies they employ so many people. Yeah. But they're known for how terrible they are to their employees, right? Like
Amazon?
Yeah, for sure. You see all these articles now about like Amazon workers saying they feel like they're stressed. They can't even stop to use the bathroom. They're peeing in their trucks.
It depends on the position, I guess.
Yeah. The factory workers who are trying to unionize, they have this whole fight. Yep. And you would think a company that big, like once again, not to harp on Chick-fil-A, but it looks like they're doing it right in that space, and they're so much smaller. Yeah. Compared to those other companies. Like, it's not a matter of we just can't
structure though.
But you can afford to figure it out. Yeah. Like, they have all the money and resources to figure it out. Of course. They have the money and resources to make the jobs a little more engaging. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just at a point where employers have to take some responsibility for how they treat their employees. You might have to get away from like normal structures. Yeah. That was one of the good things about COVID, that we kind of rethought how we do work. And I think it's been benefiting, especially more so the corporate structure. Just flex hours and all that stuff. So one of the points from the article was that loss of productivity had, like, when they tried to like do the math on it, it's equal to like 18% of annual salary. Wow. So if you make 100K, they feel like they lose 18K in just lost productivity every year, right?
I feel like it's more than that.
It probably is. And one of the things though that at least I saw a lot of my coworkers and stuff figure out is the things that we're asked to do in an 8-hour period, we were able to complete in like 3 or 4 hours at home. Yeah. And a lot of people felt much better about their work situation because it's like, I kind of got the rest of the day to myself, not to myself, you know, I don't want to, not snitching on people, but like people were able to just do more with their day.
Yeah.
Because they could structure their hours in a way where like, I don't need to be away from my house for 8 hours plus 1 hour driving there, 1 hour driving back, and an hour lunch. Like,
yeah,
I could get a lot of that work done from home and I could be way more productive in way less time.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, this kind of has something to do with it, but I feel like people are noticing that in various areas of life. Mm-hmm. Like I have a friend who homeschools and her kids are not in school all day.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're in school like 4 days a week.
Yeah.
So like it just depends on the week and the lessons and whatever. And sometimes it's her lessons mixed with Florida Virtual School or, you know, however they do it. But I was just like, you know, one of the things I asked her was, why do this?
Yeah.
And she was like, it doesn't take 8 hours to do everything.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why we do this to ourselves. And I get it. I don't know. I think that's a whole nother conversation, like homeschooling, because I'm not an educator. But I think people are seeing that, like, we can do more with our time.
Yeah.
Not just with work, but with anything. Like, it doesn't take this long to do anything. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I can't remember the exact stat. I don't want to look it up now, but I want to say they said something about maybe it's close to like 70% of people, employed people, are looking for jobs, right? While they're employed. When you did work, I guess, in the corporate space, how often do you feel like you every day?
How often did I look for a job?
Yeah.
Every day.
Why?
Because there was always something off about my job, about my work environment. I think for the most part, bringing it back to what you were emphasizing, it was mainly money.
Yeah.
So it was always like, yeah, this not gonna cut it. Maybe for like the first 6 months, it would be like, okay, I'm walking into work. I'm ready to do what I gotta do. And then after that, it would be like, this wasn't on the LinkedIn. Like, this is not what y'all wrote. And then I would start the search if, you know, after a conversation was had. I would obviously like wait for like a year's time or so. Mm-hmm. And then once I'm seeing like, oh, y'all really don't care for real, I just start looking. And for some jobs too, I would have in my mind, like, I could see myself here for 2 years. I could see myself here for, you know, whatever. One of my last jobs that I was at, before I left, I went into the role thinking, I think I'm going to be here for 2 years.
Yeah.
Because I already knew, like, I was going to work for myself eventually.
How long were you there?
I was there for 4 years instead of 2.
Yeah.
But I think, they listened to me over time and they would actually give me raises. But at some point it was just kind of like, this money isn't even, like, it was just, I was a robot. And not in a sense, because we've had lots of robot conversation, but not in a sense where like a robot could do my job. But I literally, like, I come in, I check my email, I respond to the emails, I measure the garments for fit sessions. I take whatever notes to take with me to the fit sessions. We have the fit session. I send comments, I send more emails, I check more emails. Like,
it was just very repetitive.
Every day. And it was just like, yeah, it's different garments.
But that was the role, though.
That was the role. But at some point, it was just like, okay, it's 11 o'clock. Why am I still here? Like, kind of what your coworkers figured out, you know?
Yeah.
It would be at a point where it's like, okay, I'm just going to spread out my day so I'm not just on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because y'all gonna look at me crazy.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I was on YouTube. It was just on, another tab or whatever. But
yeah, you always had interesting work situations.
Yeah.
I feel like I was kind of the opposite of you when it comes to looking for jobs.
Yeah, you loyal.
It was that.
I didn't care.
It was the loyalty, and I kind of, for the most part, and you can attest to this, like, I never, aside from very, like, short occasions, but once my career started going, I was never the one, like, asking for raises. I got them, but I didn't ask for them up until, like, very late. I'd say up until, like, very late. I didn't ask for raises. I kind of got them, so it did get to a point where I did feel like my work was being
respected.
Yeah, to a point where, like, I didn't get I would get mad, but it was not about the pay. Yeah. It was about the other things. And those things, like, I figured I could kind of work through those for the most part. They weren't, like, leavable offenses.
You could work through it because the pay was fine.
I told you that helps.
Yeah.
That helps.
When you roll all of those things in one, I mean, my shortest job was 6 months. And we were married at the time.
My shortest is 2 years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. Because for me, I don't know. I just can't be in a situation where I know this is not working. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, when people just stay in bad relationships, I just be like, how you function in life? Like, this is, so no, I don't care if it's love tied to it. I don't care if it's a paycheck tied to it. If I gotta go, I gotta go.
Yeah.
And I will find something else. So.
Yeah, I think part of it too, I think it's also the nature of what I do. So, like, the majority of jobs that I do are, like, projects. And my projects tend to be, like,
that's true.
2-year project, 3-year project. And
you sign a contract?
No.
Oh, I just want to make sure, No, but I get it.
I don't sign contracts.
Because you can't just leave in a minute. I mean, you can.
But yeah, you definitely can. I've seen plenty of people do it. But for me, it was, the project keeps me engaged. And it's like, once you start something, you kind of want to finish it. Because it kind of becomes your baby. And that's just the nature of what I do.
Yeah.
But just, like, even in the moments where, okay, I finish a project, this could be my exit, or, like, I see how things are falling apart here, I could leave. It just depends on how it went. Like, I just wasn't big on switching jobs like that.
Yeah.
Whatever. Because a lot of it came down to, I figured God will help me figure it out. Well, I don't think he'll be mad if I stayed here.
Yeah.
A little longer or whatever.
You like the teachings on pain and suffering, though.
What?
You're just that guy.
I'm what?
You like pain and suffering messages.
What you mean?
You do.
I'm
like, yeah, God will give me the grace to get through it. Like, it's fine.
I think
you're like, no, in this world we'll have trouble. I'm gonna stick it through.
You're right. You're right about that to a degree. I don't know why I'm like that. I don't feel more noble for it. Sometimes I feel stupid when I do it. Because in my mind, I've come to this, like, super deep, like, yeah, like, God's gonna be pleased that you stayed here and you saw this all the way through. You didn't quit like everybody else and jump off the sinking ship.
Yeah.
Because, and you can attest to this, I found a lot of blessings in those moments where everybody else was getting off the bus and I stayed.
Not in every situation, but yes.
The majority.
Yeah.
Of my work situations.
Yes.
Everybody's jumping off the everybody's jumping off the ship, Jock stayed, and I've definitely benefited off a lot of those.
Give me that piece.
Okay, so when you were looking for jobs, what were some workplace issues that you think kind of pushed you, and you kind of touched a little bit, that pushed you in those directions?
No organization.
Yeah.
No company structures.
Yeah.
I've never been in a situation where I didn't know like who to go to, like who my direct manager was. But it got muddy after that. So like I knew who my manager was and I knew who their boss was or manager was. But after that, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, I took it to this person. Okay, so I took it to my manager took my concern to another person, and then it would just kind of like, like, okay, so who does this person take it to? Yeah. The owner? Yeah, yeah. Because clearly, what is HR? If anybody's in HR, please get it together because, like, yeah. So yeah, that. Just the structure, there's no growth track in certain places. I have had some great jobs where if I had your attitude, maybe I would still be there, depending on just because I knew like my manager had my back. Yeah. And would vouch for me. So yeah. Yeah, I think those were some of the issues. And then, of course, there's just, like, the drama. Like, just some people's lives are very boring. And they come to work for the drama. And that's when they spice it up. Yes, for the drama. Or to create drama, I should say. And sometimes they try it with you. And then they realize, oh, I'm not going to try it with you. Yeah. Let me go to this person.
Have you ever attempted to quit a job and they talked you out of it?
No. When I quit, I'm leaving.
Yeah. And on the way out, because I haven't been through one, like I haven't done like an exit interview or anything, but like, have you ever like, okay, I'm leaving and this is why? Or has anyone asked like, dang, like what happened? Like what could we have done better?
They asked, but I don't think they asked to really change. Yeah. I think it's on the exit interview paperwork and that's it. And then it gets filed. At least to me, that's what it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I've only really quit one job. And it wasn't even really, I didn't consider it quitting.
I'm like, what job was that?
The first one, because there was still, I could have stayed longer. Actually, both of them probably could have stayed.
That job, bro.
It depends on how you want to look at it. But that was the one where I feel like I wrote him in my, what's that thing called? In
resignation?
My 2-week notice letter. I kind of, because I knew I wasn't going to get an exit interview. Yeah. But I kind of wanted to let them know. It wasn't all just like, oh, the department was closing and I'm leaving. Yeah. There were some things, even if we stayed open, that
get your life together.
This job wasn't going to, and I had made a lot of that stuff clear maybe like a year earlier in a separate email. Like the one I said where I had asked him like, yo, what is it? Like, what do you want? What more do you want from me? In the words of Tyrese. But, like, I think giving that feedback, whether they take it or not, I think is really important for the people behind you, whatever, to improve the situation, like letting them know, what things they could work on. But yeah, I know not all jobs do it. But I think it's important feedback. Yeah. I guess for them to have.
I guess.
This wasn't on the paper, but Have you quit a job with no 2-week notice yet? Like, just, I'm done?
No.
No?
Nope. I've given 2 weeks notice. I've given a 2 weeks notice that's turned into like a month.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've given a 2 weeks notice that they were just like, you ain't gotta come back tomorrow.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know that.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah,
that was in New York.
Yeah.
Whatever. I wanted to go anyway. But
yeah.
I had planned it out to where it was like, okay, I know I'm going to give my notice on this day, and then I'll move back to Miami on this day, and I'll have, I budgeted for, because I knew he was petty, like my boss was petty.
Yeah.
So I was like, I might have 2 weeks in New York where I ain't doing nothing. So let me just plan it out accordingly.
Yeah.
And I sent the email, I want to say, I feel like I sent it at night, and then he replied in the morning via email, like, it's okay. You ain't got to come.
Yeah.
Because he just felt the way. But it's fine. I was like, all right, I guess I ain't got to get dressed right now.
Yeah. I've only like quit once. Once I figured out I was heading into my last semester of college and I had a job, and in my mind I was like, I got enough money to make it through the last semester.
Yeah.
I told them like, they're like, oh, the schedule's out for next week. And I was like, I'm not coming back.
You're going to have to redo that schedule.
Yeah, I'm not coming.
Yikes.
Aside from that, I'm a model employee. You
yeah,
don't get your
I always send one. And actually, I feel like, well, I switched so many jobs, but I always have my 2 weeks notice, like,
in the drafts.
Yep. At least like 2 months before I left, I knew for sure, like, I'm gonna leave. So let me just get this together.
That is you.
Yep.
That is you.
And then I would just tell you when I'm like certain and have a plan.
Cause you would always prep me. I feel like you would slowly like.
I would give you like a couple months.
A couple of the. How was work today, man? And I'm like, oh shoot, that should just set me up for the day where she's like, I sent my 2 week notice.
Yep.
But,
but then I would be like, and I'm starting another job.
Yeah. But all right,
that's one thing. I would always have another job to go to.
Yeah, I haven't done that, but I have done I threatened to quit without having another job lined up.
You did?
I did do that. And that was one of those, like, I had to call you and tell you, like, hey, just want to give you a heads up. I threatened to quit my job today.
Yeah.
Wasn't planned, but it kind of had to happen.
Yeah.
That's a story for another day.
I was excited. I was like, go ahead. Do what you gotta do.
It's because the risk reward was high on it.
Yeah, there were a couple times where you called me once about that, and then I called you once because my job was doing layoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, hey, we're all in a conference room. I just want to let you know I might lose my job today.
That was crazy.
I don't know yet. They haven't told anybody. And then you were like, okay. And this was like fresh marriage.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what was going on, but low key, I was like, please pick me.
And you didn't make the cut.
Nope. I was the only one left on my team. They didn't pick me.
Look at God. All right, with that, let's
we do have a listener matter.
Oh, we're gonna go to the listener matter. Go ahead, rock right into it. Let's do it.
Right.
What's the question?
Oh,
I'm looking at you. Now it's time for the listener matter question.
All right. So as you guys know, you can email us at michelmatters@gmail.com, or DM us on Instagram at michelmatters. So this question is, I noticed in your Christianese episode, you didn't reference any pastors or speakers who primarily handle the topic of dating as a Christian. Was that on purpose, or are there any that you would mention now to those who are interested?
You want me to answer that?
We could both answer. You have something?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. I I don't know if that is a topic a pastor should like specialize in.
I'm glad we're on the same page.
Yeah, I just need a pastor to be well-rounded.
Yeah.
Could I offer some like different specific sermons or whatever, like to maybe you could go listen to or look at? Maybe.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I don't think I don't need a like. It shouldn't be as heavy a topic.
Yeah.
And whatever I could go into all that, but I just look for well-rounded pastors, because the thing about the Bible, there are a lot of topics in today's world where they're not laid out for you in the Bible. The Bible doesn't say exactly what to do, but it gives you the framework to answer today's questions.
Yeah.
So that's why I look for well-rounded pastors who can teach me or can help guide me in some of the principles that help me either, structure my mind in how to look for a mate, or the things I should look for, maybe red flags, stuff like that. Yeah. So that's why I'm not really like caught up in a pastor who like focuses on a singular topic like that.
Interesting. We're definitely on the same page. I don't think we left it out on purpose.
Yeah.
I don't think, well, at least for me, I know that that's not really content that I
seek out.
Yeah, I don't really look for dating content because that don't got nothing to do with me. And I feel like if you, like Jock said, are a well-rounded pastor, it's gonna come up at some point in different sermons, because all of life should come up at some point in your sermons. Yeah. And honestly, if I kind of like back off of people who that's like all they talk about. Because like you said, dating is one of those things like the Bible is not clear on. Like, yeah. Like how to do it, you know? So I don't even think courting is in the Bible, but y'all love that word. So yeah. I don't know. I think like even when people ask for dating advice, I'm like, that's not really clear, like biblically speaking. Yeah. So like go back to the fruits of the spirit, go back to like the commandments. Do they honor their parents? Are they gentle? Are they kind? Are they, you know? Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, if you know of good, like the person who asked the question, if you know of any good sermons or whatever, you can pass that along. But yeah, I don't feel like we seek out that topic. Yeah. Because it's just not talked about. Yeah. Like
yeah. Cause just looking at the question again, is pastors or speakers who primarily handle the topic. I'm just not a fan per se.
Like your whole ministry is about dating.
Yeah. It's
that's weird.
I don't want to get like critical, but it can be very,
it's weird.
It can be very, predatory, on people who, who do seek some of that information. But yeah, I just look for more. I primarily look for more well-rounded, pastors and speakers. Yeah. So. Okay. All right. All right. On to the business spotlight.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. I have personally enjoyed audiobooks as I go about my day-to-day activities, and Audible has over 180,000 titles to choose from. You can listen on all your devices. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/MichelleMatters. Again, that's audibletrial.com/MichelleMatters for your free audiobook. All right, this episode's business spotlight is Paradis Books and Bread. So we spoke about how I quit my job and a lot of people are quitting their jobs. And so because I do not necessarily, I mean, I have a workplace it's at home. But sometimes I need to go somewhere else to just like focus, especially if it's just stuff on my laptop. I'm not sewing or anything. And this place is a gem. And they are right smack dab in North Miami on West Dixie. And it's just crazy because I remember being at the center back in the day and going to like the corner store and getting like a bag of chips and one of those little chubby drinks.
Of course.
And going to the center. And it's like right there by where I used to do that. And so now I get to just frequent Paradis. And I mean, I've been like, 3 times now?
You ain't take me yet.
No, because I go during work hours and you're working.
People
That's
with
the
jobs
point.
can't go.
But I'm working.
All right.
I think other people are working as well. But yeah, they have wine. They have...
Y'all working and drinking wine? Like, that's the first drink?
No, I haven't tried their wine.
You didn't even start with the coffee. You started with the wine.
I only had the coffee, and I tasted... I went there with Judy once, because she was working from home. And I tasted her tea. And then I've had the sourdough bread.
Okay.
So they have like the oil that you can like dip the bread in, and the jam and butter on the sourdough. Yeah, it's cute, and it's not too busy. The music is not really my thing, so I bring your AirPods or whatever. But yeah, especially if I'm just updating my budgets and profit and loss sheets and updating the website or answering emails, is the perfect place for me to go. I'm surrounded by books that I don't know if I'll read them because I'm there to work. But yeah, they have a cute little menu as well. And then they have their own garden outside where they grab the herbs from to make the teas.
Okay.
And then they make their own sourdough bread. So it's really cute. It's I love their story too. It's a group of friends that are, I want to say most of them are from Miami, but they lived in New York together, and then they came back and started this place. Yeah. So that is Paradis. If you ever need a place to work, I would recommend it. They also have like wine tastings that maybe that's what we could do together.
Okay. Get an invite.
Right. But yeah, so I don't know if this is their slogan, but when you Google them, it says Rad Books, Wine Bar, Sourdough, North Miami. So I guess that's what they're known for.
Sums it all up.
Yep. So yeah, check them out.
Yeah, and as always, their information will be in the show notes,
yes.
As well as a link to all of our ads and all of our sponsors.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment on our YouTube, link up with us on Instagram at Michel Matters. Mm-hmm. Visit our site for the merch, michelmatters.com.
Okay.
Just check in.
Yeah, you can rate us on Apple Podcasts.
Yes, sir.
And send us comments. Leave us a voicemail at 954-652-6519. And that's it.
All right. Another episode in the books.
Yep.
See you guys.
Bye.
When I pull up on you, then I might swear, ayy. Dribble off deuce, ayy. That you might work, ayy. When I pull up on you, then I might swear, ayy. Dribble off deuce, ayy. That you might work, ayy. That you might work. That you might work.